Hello and welcome, and today we're going to cover troubleshooting theory and the 6 steps to pretty much troubleshoot an issue. We're going to incorporate this into Project Zomboid, into one of my mods that I'm currently working on, and I'll give you a real life example and how I use this theory to figure out the issue and rectify it. So first, before we get to my mod and how I fix the issue, we're going to cover the 6 steps of that theory. So the first step is going to be identify the problem, and that could be simply put, you released a mod and you have people on the Steam workshop page commenting saying something is not working, or perhaps you found something that is not working. So obviously the first step is to identify that there is a problem. So the second step is you're going to establish a theory of probable cause. Now what that means is you're going to find out what is causing that problem. So for example, you're in the world, not talking about Project Zomboid for a second, you're in the world and you're working for tech support and a person calls you and says the computer is not turning on. So you're going to make a list of probable causes and say, is your computer plugged in? And have that user, oh well, it's not plugged in, so there you go. That's basically a theory of probable cause. You're going to make a list, and you're gonna pretty much prioritize that list from the most likely to the least likely. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next step. That's step number 3, and you're going to test that probable cause theory to determine the actual cause. So when you make that list, you're going to start at the top from most likely issues, and you're going to pretty much work the problem. From this point, you're going to eventually find the issue, and that's going to link us to the next step. So the next step is number 4, and that's going to establish a action plan and execute the plan. So basically, once you find the issue, you're going to fix it. I'll go more in detail a little later, but it's kind of self-explanatory for that part. Step number 5 is you're going to verify the entire functionality of the system. You're going to make sure it works. And number 6 is documenting the process. Now, documenting, it could be just a mental note like, oh, okay, from now on, I'm just not going to do that, or I'm going to make sure I fix it, or you can simply just write a note on your computer and save it in a file and refer to it later. That's up to you. Okay, so let's go back to number 1 on the theory, and we're going to bring up my mod, and I'm going to give you a scenario of what happened. So in Blackbeard's Weapons, I released a bunch of features, and one of those features was extended magazines for an M4 and AK-47. So by default, all weapons have their standard magazine. So in this case, it's a 30-round magazine for the M4. I've added a 60-round magazine for the M4. And moving over to the AK, I've added, well, you don't see it here, but I've added a 74-round drum magazine. So when I released this update, I've had a user, unfortunately I forgot your name if you're watching, I appreciate you reporting it, but I had a user report that he could not use the standard magazines and he can only use the extended magazines for the M4 and AK-47. So we've already established and completed the first step, that is identify the problem. So from that point, we're going to move into step 2 and establish a theory of probable cause. So in this case, I'm going to go back to everything that I've added in that update. Now moving over to the Steam Workshop, I went to the changelog section, and on August 7th, here's all the features I've added. I've added magazine boxes. Basically, you open up a box and it has a bunch of magazines in there. I've added a cleaning kit and the ability to repair the modded guns. I've added the extended mags. I made an attachable suppressor. I fixed the icons and added a feature to allow vanilla mods to attach to the modded guns. So we're going to use this real quick as an initial list, and we can easily say that, okay, well, the boxes have nothing to do with the magazines except to contain the item, so that's not going to interfere with the ability of using the mag. Now, the cleaning kit, the same thing, that's not going to interfere. And pretty much these will not interfere at all, which leads us to the magazine itself. So, going into the coding, the programming language, whatever, we're going to look at every instance of where this magazine is located. We've got some in distributions, but that is allowing the magazine to spawn. And since I went into the game world and found the magazine, that is working, so we are confident the issue is not there. So, going into the weapon script itself, we have one line that shows our magazine types. The top line is your standard capacity. The bottom line is your extended capacity. So this is a suspect. We'll leave this here on the list. Next part we're going to look at is in the text file that has the physical magazine in it, which is this here. You see how it says item 556 M4 magazine? Below this, I had the extended magazine in there, but it's pretty much the exact same thing as we can see highlighted here. It's just the icon name is changed and the item name is changed. Now, since everything else works with this, and the item spawns properly, it matches to the icon, I am pretty confident that this is not the issue. So that still leaves us with the M4 script document itself as being a possible issue. That is about all the areas we could look at to identify the possibility of an issue. Before build 4.1, going back to the public builds where the animations are not there, magazines were handled completely different than what they are in build 4.1. And that's what we're working on right now, is the I will back up my save build 4.1. So I'm not going to refer to the old method. I'm just going to look at this file and see, okay, this is most likely our issue. So pretty much we really don't have a list. We've just got one very high chance that it is right here. And that brings us to step 3 is, well, actually we pretty much did oh no, wait, sorry, yeah, it's number 3. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's testing the probable cause theory to determine the actual cause. So in a sense we kind of, well, no, we didn't. So in this part, what I did was I looked at the main project Zomboid directory. I'm going to open that up with code. It's going to be a big file. And I'm going to navigate to where we can find the weapons. These are just magazines and they're not the weapons, so let's check out new items and do shotgun. Okay. Okay, it's not there. Alright, bear with me a second. I'm trying to find the weapons. Here we go. So what I'm doing here is grabbing the actual item name of the vanilla pistol. And I'm doing a quick search and find on the document. And here we go. This brought us to all of the actual specs of the pistol and such, and also the rest. So I'm going to look at this list where I know it's in the base game and I know it works, and I'm going to check out magazine type. I'm going to do this. Alright, we got 3 instances. Okay, so for the varmint rifle, there's only one magazine type. Let's check out another. Okay, there's another one there. And as I keep looking through these, I can see that for every gun there's only one magazine type. So I'm thinking in my mind that, okay, well maybe because I have a second line here that says magazine type maybe that is the issue. So what we're going to do is we can simply just delete this and see if it works, but that doesn't allow me to keep this feature in. So we're going to try something else to see if we can make this work. So you see how I have model weapon part here? The game will allow this because multiple weapon parts can be attached to just one gun. So in theory, I thought I could just add another line here and maybe that would work. Well, we're having an issue now, so obviously that's probably the cause. So there is something, here we go. So in here, for the modded optics that I have in game, I have the mount on option here, and it's separated by a semicolon, but at the end there's a simple comma. So I thought, okay, well, let me do it this way and see if that works. And we're going to delete that line. Okay, so this is a possible solution to resolve the issue. So I saved it, put it back into my my user directory mods folder, and did a quick test run. Lo and behold, I found out that it is still an issue, and this time I had a bunch of red errors appear on the bottom right of the screen. So obviously the game just doesn't like that. So pretty much we tested a few things, but we found out that those are just not going to work. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, in order to get this to work, I'm trying to think of who else made something like this work, and I can't think of any other modder that made multiple magazines for one gun in this game. So chances are this feature is just not going to work at all for the game. So from that point, to establish a plan of action and execute that plan, I've decided to remove that feature and just kind of put it aside until I can figure out a way to do it. Now, I'm not the best with programming, so I'm pretty sure it's going to take custom programming just to add a second magazine type, only because I don't think Project Zomboid is, and its mechanics, its engine, is going to allow that. So unfortunately, we just had to ditch that feature, and then we found everything was working as intended. So I just pretty much covered step 5 and 6 there. I've decided to not pursue it any further because it's just going to take too long and eat up too much of my time to where other features are going to not be implemented. So I'm going to side that feature for later as another problem to look at. So, okay, that is a quick example of the troubleshooting theory.